Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
We got quite a bit to talk about this week. A little bit happening on both of the yellow brands, and we're building up towards a network special for them as well, as our regular Raw and SmackDowns. We're going to start it off with NXT TakeOver, or NXT UK TakeOver, Blackpool 2. We made predictions last week. We ran down the card, and I don't think we could have been more wrong. Opening matchup saw Eddie Dennis take out Trent Seven, while in the other singles match, Tyler Bate did manage to defeat Jordan Devlin, so that's one right for us.
Yeah, I got Eddie.
There's something going for us. But on to the championships, because we'll get to Mustache Mountain later on in the show. But let's talk about this NXT UK Women's Championship match. Kaylee Ray actually defending her title against both Toni Storm and Piper Niven.
Yeah, I've heard it was a pretty good match. Everybody held their own.
It was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, we'd both gone in there thinking maybe, it'd be time to switch the belt off of Kaylee Ray. And to be fair, there was quite a few matches here where I just sort of nodded a little bit of like, you got me. I didn't see that ending. It was the classic finishing move gets hit, heel comes in last minute to steal the win. But it was still a pretty good triple threat match between the three girls. And where does Kaylee Ray go from here? Don't quite know. Obviously, Toni Storm and Piper were both being built up as her next challengers, so she may have a new person approaching her. And then let's talk about the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Ladder match for the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. Gallus managing to retain against Imperium, Grizzled Young Veterans, and Andrews and Webster. It was another one of a bit of a surprise here. Thought it was about time maybe Gallus were going to drop the belts. Maybe they were going to do the Undisputed Era thing, so at Worlds Collide, it was all the belts in one big match. Maybe give Imperium a bit of a run with the belts, but we still got Gallus for the next little wee while.
Yeah. I guess they just decided that they wanted to surprise us a little bit.
They definitely did that. And this Blackpool network show was quite a bit of a surprise with their outcomes. But the one match that probably was a surprise to absolutely no one, Walter successfully retained his United Kingdom Championship against Joe Coffey.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It didn't feel like it was time for Walter to drop it yet.
At this point, though, who can you put against Walter? He has taken out everybody that NXT UK has to offer.
I'm sure there's somebody. I don't know.
Well, the threats for Walter and Imperium are definitely not coming from NXT UK at the moment, because the show actually didn't close off with Walter holding his belt high above his head in celebration. It ended with the Undisputed Era crashing the show and taking out all of the members of Imperium and standing tall over top of Walter and his gang.
Yep, and that should have given us a clue that there was more on the horizon.
They did us in. They did the old copyright logo in the corner, and then they swerved you and threw in yet another sort of hit to set up once again that 8-man tag team match at Worlds Collide, where it will be Imperium versus the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that's going to be the end of it, because I think we found out about a potential pay-per-view coming up in maybe July.
July sounds about good. So it definitely seems like NXT versus NXT UK being the major theme heading forward for these shows isn't insane. in terms of shows being announced, probably a weird place to slot it, but I'm going to slot it in here. AEW Dynamite's been renewed for like 3 or 4 years, as well as an additional AEW weekly show. So maybe NXT UK finds itself randomly against that show. Who knows? But that was the NXT takeover for Blackpool. We're going to stay on that theme a little bit, and we're going to swerve on over to Worlds Collide. We got 2 new matches announced this week, one of which is going to be Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa teaming up to take on Mustache Mountain.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see where they go with this.
While the other match is for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, Angel Garza will be defending against Isaiah Swerve Scott, and the winner of Ligero versus Jordan Devlin, and the winner of Brian Kendrick versus Travis Banks. My boy could be
go
Cruiserweight
UK
champ.
guy.
No, go Banks. That's all that matters. Travis Banks wins. Instant happiness for Grady. That's the only outcome I'm gonna believe in now. I refuse any other outcome. And continuing NXT versus NXT UK, we had the other 2 first round matchups in the 2020 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. The Broserweights managed to defeat Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster.
The Broserweights.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be the winners.
You think after what happened in the other match we haven't got to yet, that you're going for the Broserweights?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Well, the other match saw the Grizzled Young Veterans from NXT UK actually defeat the team of Kushida and Alex Shelley. I don't think we saw that team dropping out in the first round.
I think we said there was always the option because we never knew who they were going to pick for that for his partner.
Yeah,
and so there was always the possibility that whoever it was, they would end up losing in the first round.
It's true. But it does even out the numbers in the semi-finals. We have 2 from NXT and 2 from NXT UK. Our 2 semi-finals will be Imperium taking on the Broserweights, which I believe you're siding with the Broserweights here.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not.
And then on the other side of the bracket, the Undisputed Era going against the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Grizzled Young Veterans, because I have a feeling that both tag teams that are involved in that big 4-on-4 are going to cost the other tag team their semi-final match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely possible. The only other option, I guess, would be for them to also be the final, but that feels like way too many collisions for those guys. Something I would like to slip in here as well is that the semi-finals will be on January 22nd, and Worlds Collide is January 25th. So it's possible, I wouldn't be surprised, if the finals do end up being an NXT versus an NXT UK, and they do find their way onto the Worlds Collide card. But we will have to wait and see. And I said there was a lot to talk about, and I listed a bunch of WWE stuff. We've mentioned some AEW news with their weekly show. We're going to do something unprecedented on this show, and we're about to go over and talk about some Impact Wrestling. I'm sure we've probably referenced it before, but by God, I don't think we've sat down and actually talked about it.
Yeah, we didn't expect what happened to happen, but especially after everything that went down on over the weekend.
No, it's been a bit of an insane week in pro wrestling, especially if you are following along on Twitter through all of the internet feuds and such. There was a match booked at Impact Wrestling's show Hard to Kill. It was Sami Callihan, the Impact World Champion, taking on Tessa Blanchard with the championship on the line. And then some stuff happened on the internet last week, and everybody was, firmly siding here. Callahan's gonna win. They're not gonna go with Tessa, and they went with Tessa.
Yeah, I think they they were in a rock and a hard place, really. They built this whole moment up for this major moment to occur. And then, just as we're getting onto the doorstep of it, some rather unquestionable things came up.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of stole the thunder of what would have otherwise been a monumental moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this, you can say, oh, it's Impact as much as you want to, but this still is a fairly large moment in wrestling history, and as you say, just completely marred by what happened in the days following up to it. But I got a feeling the history books are only going to show this event.
Yeah. I mean, it is the first time a woman is holding a major world heavyweight championship.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how you feel about Impact, it is still a major world championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got what? Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Shaw, New Japan, AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact. They're all there. Especially in this time at the moment where, wrestling all over the place can cast you as sort of this major company. Impact still have a massive US network TV deal. And for the foreseeable future, we'll be having Tessa holding their Impact World Championship.
Yeah, they had to buy the network in order to have that deal.
Yeah, but they still have it. But that means that the theme we will be playing this week is Tessa's Impact Wrestling theme. And we're going to play that for you now. When we come back on the other side of the song, we're going to have Raw, SmackDown, and a little bit of Royal Rumble preview.
Forever.
And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh, and I promised some SmackDown and Raw, so it's time to get to that. John Morrison and The Miz, they are solidifying themselves as this sort of dynamic duo, and immediately putting the New Day in their sights.
Yeah, they even brought back the dirt sheet.
Yeah. They very much, we joked about it last week with the Fiend sending people backwards in their gimmicks. It feels like they've just picked up where they left off. But heading straight against the New Day is quite a large target to aim for immediately.
Yeah, might as well. You're a former tag team champion. Might as well go after the current ones.
Odds that they are champion within the next, let's say, 2 months?
Probably pretty low.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling that Miz will probably turn on Morrison just like he did in 2009 when they broke up.
So we haven't rewound to the happy times. We've rewound to the month before they broke up. Gotcha. We're also still solidifying this Braun Strowman versus Shinsuke Nakamura feud for this Intercontinental belt. It's the first bit of attention that this belt has had in a little wee while. But it looks like we're going to have Braun Strowman as champion. If I ask that same question, so what are the odds that Braun Strowman is Intercontinental champion in the next 2 months?
I would say 99.9999999999999.
That's quite a high percentage.
Infinitely going on with 9%.
Yeah. I think this is definitely lining up to a Braun Strowman Intercontinental Championship reign.
I wish they'd just put me out of my misery already.
And then the other major talking point about SmackDown is that Roman Reigns and the Usos going up against King Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, but we got the return of Robert Roode to nicely even it out to 6-on-6, because it's got to be even, doesn't it?
Pretty much.
Now the question is, where does this feud go from here? Short term, it goes to a Roman Reigns versus King Corbin at Royal Rumble in a singles match. Long term, how much longer are we continuing on with this feud?
I feel like it has to end around the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I don't know how much more legs this thing has on it. And I'm not saying that, the Usos or Reigns need to turn on each other. I'm not saying that the King's Court needs to disband or break up or anything. I just think that these two trios, it's time for them to head their separate ways.
Yeah, especially with, I think we're going to be getting Roman towards the Fiend at some point here in the next couple months. They definitely need to break them up from this feud if we're going to head towards that way.
And if Reigns is heading towards the Fiend, likely he takes out Corbin at Rumble?
Yeah, I would figure they'll have some sort of major blow-off match at the Rumble. And then at Elimination Chamber, that's when Roman will become the number one contender for the Universal Championship.
I like the sound of that. I'm happy with that. So let's jump over to the Raw brand now. We've got quite a bit to talk about, but first up, because it's my man Drew, he won the opening match. It was a triple threat match with Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Strap that jetpack on. We going to the moon, baby.
Hey, it almost does seem like he's gone to the light side. Maybe he got tired of the cookies.
He was definitely playing a more smarmy, sort of having a joke kind of guy. Like he's just making fun of you, but still in a way that you could like him. He's always been the light side for me, please. Nothing he's done has ever been bad. Except maybe 3MB. But it looks like he's propelling himself up. You know, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, they ain't guys that are low down on the card. They ain't guys who are, brand new to this business. This is Drew McIntyre making a statement. And we also got another man making a statement. And that man's name is R-Truth. Now, usually, we wouldn't spend too long talking about a nice little comedy segment for the 24/7 championship. But we're going to sit on this one. We're going to stew on this. Because this might be the most goddamn funny segment ever. A little bit of hyperbole here.
I don't know. If you could make Brock Lesnar laugh, it might very well be the funniest thing ever.
Not even like laugh, like belly laugh for 6 minutes straight. There wasn't a point where that thing stopped being funny. It was the perfect length. Everything that was said, the timing was nailed. It was a masterpiece. Basically,
R-Truth is just amazing. And he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame when he's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, R-Truth, for those who didn't see the segment, first off, go watch it. Secondly, R-Truth comes out. He announces himself, or declares the Royal Rumble, as he'd say. Then proceeds to believe that Paul Heyman's in the Rumble. Realize it's Brock Lesnar. Then undeclare the Royal Rumble. Do the splits. Ask what's up. And get F5'd.
Oh, never change, R-Truth. Never change.
I was thoroughly sports entertained. We've also got other champions other than the 24/7 and the WWE. The Raw Tag Team Champions, the Viking Raiders, they're on the lookout for new challenges. They put out an open challenge and managed to squash the Singh brothers who showed up. I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, clearly they aren't, because if they were still with Jinder, they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, they're a little out of their mind. I don't know anybody who would step up to the Viking Raiders. Seems like a bit of a silly decision, but the Raw Tag Team division is still in this floaty, foggy type position where, the Viking Raiders have beaten the Street Profits, they've beaten the OC, now they've beaten the Singh brothers. Who is there?
I think there's a big, giant tag team that's on their way. It's just they're dealing with the main event at the moment. Oh.
And let's jump into that. So Seth Rollins and his bodyguards, the AOP, they've been dealing with Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Big Show returning last week to even the odds and make it a 3v3. That's a lot of mass in one ring.
Mm-hmm. And we had no heel turn. Everybody and their mothers were expecting Big Show to turn. Didn't happen.
Big Show doesn't need to turn every week. He can turn every second week. But yeah, there was a lot of people here, a lot of talent as well. You know, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, guys who are top of the card. AOP probably going to be challenging for those Raw Tag Team titles soon. Big Show, veteran. And a fourth man gets added to whatever Seth Rollins' little stable's called.
Yeah, the Architects of Pain gained a fourth member. And it's somebody who will probably make you very gleeful. Because that means they're doing something with him.
Well, yeah, it's Buddy
Take it away.
Murphy. Yeah, Buddy Murphy. You know, he went up against Aleister Black. He knocked on the door, and he lost. And
3 times.
And then he lost a second time, and then he lost a third time. But somehow, after going 0-3 against Aleister Black, finds himself propelled into the main event to stand alongside Seth Rollins and AOP. I don't understand it, but I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to be the mid-card guy in that group.
It's true. You know, it does make me wonder, obviously, the feud itself now, the feud is 3v4. Who's gonna be 4? And don't give me the obvious answer, because it might just be Aleister Black.
Yeah, who knows? It could be Aleister Black. Might not be. It might be insert name here, because we don't know anything. Or they may not even put a fourth person into this feud.
It's true. I could, the only reason I would be pretty chuffed if it was Aleister Black is so that we get a nice solid Seth Rollins versus Aleister Black match. I feel like that could be a good matchup between those two. And it's probably happened somewhere. Gut feeling.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But another man who's sitting somewhere randomly in the card, sort of that upper mid-card area, but hasn't quite found himself some footing for what he's going to do in the future, Eric Rowan. He took out another local competitor, and now that thing in his cage has got to be alive, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because it's biting people now.
It's, don't know what it is, and I don't know how they're going to reveal what it is, but I'm interested. They've got me wondering, and they've got me wanting to know what it is. And I think that was the intention of the entire cover it up, hidden secrecy type thing, so congratulations. Is there anything off of Raw and SmackDown that you think I missed before we talk a little bit about Royal Rumble? Because we had some new people declare themselves for that.
Nothing off the top of my head.
Well, then let's transition over. So we talked last week about the potentiality for it to be 10 Raw, 10 SmackDown, 10 NXT. That's blown out of the water already because we've had 11 Raw people already announced for this. And then a 12th free agent that might sort of count as Raw. Don't quite know just yet. We already knew that from Raw, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton would be in it. Now we know that Rusev, Bobby Lashley, Aleister Black, and Buddy Murphy, those 4 who have been in their own individual 1v1 feuds, have found their way into the match.
Yeah, this should be interesting to see where they go from here, who gets in, and if they end up announcing all 30 members or not.
Well, we're at 18 so far, so hey. And then over on SmackDown, we got Elias, King Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Otis, and Tucker of Heavy Machinery. And King Corbin and Roman Reigns both going to be pulling the old double duty with the Rumble match and a singles match. But probably the biggest announcement, which might not be a surprise to some people, but still a pretty big announcement. It was announced by The Sun either today, I believe, but like recording day, so a couple days ago, is that Cain Velasquez will be entering the Royal Rumble.
And I don't think anybody's surprised.
Nah. He's the one hurdle to Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. Goddamn Cain.
Are you sure about that? Because I think the purpose is just to eliminate Brock.
Okay.
It's not really.
Well, then I'm happy if that is the case. Anything that leads me closer to Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar makes Grady a happy boy. So, looking at it now, this is the field. That's the 18 men we've got in it at the moment. Who you feeling? Who you think's going to come up on top? Because we got to be looking ahead now. It's basically a question of who's going to be facing Brock Lesnar or The Fiend at WrestleMania, assuming they hold their titles that long. There's a correct answer here.
There's a correct answer, but I don't think you want to hear it.
No. If your answer isn't Drew McIntyre, then there's a problem.
Well, it's somebody who I don't think has been announced yet.
Okay.
That's the reason why.
Okay. Say it and I'll bleep it if I need to bleep it.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I'm bleeping that. That's the end of the show. I'm not letting that announcement happen. Nope. You're not allowed to even put that out into the universe. I'm cutting that entirely. It's been great talking to you.
Baby.
Where's this hang up button? Just to boop. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRadio, Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRadio, and completely forget about what Josh just said.